what I've deliberately done today is I didn't want to turn up with preconceived clearings for people. So what I'd like to do is I want everyone to think about what we've just achieved and to see if you want to, if you've got a statement or something around this area you want to clear. And it might be around, for example, telling other people. Like you're a different person to who you were, and maybe you can't share some of that because maybe most of the people around you are not really awake, and you just gotta go, well, I'm just not worth saying anything. Is anyone like that? Alyssa, I'm gonna bring you on. You're laughing your head off there on that one. So
I am. Yeah, I've had this conversation with some people in this group. I'm yes, I'm around a, a community that is has different ways of thinking, and sometimes they look at me like I'm speaking a foreign language. So I'm figuring out ways to be authentic and still use words that resonate with different groups of people.
okay. So I'm going to give you a statement that's going to be for all of us. And the statement is, it is safe for me to share my vision.
It is safe for me to share my vision.
Okay, it doesn't feel real safe,
Mm-mm,
does it?
no,
You can
my
always tell when I give people a statement and they're nodding no while they're actually saying it. Like that's always a clue
yeah,
that there's a stress. Like I don't even have to muscle test when you're shaking your head the whole entire time you're reading it.
yeah.
So what's going on?
Yeah, it's just like a physical body response when I it just doesn't feel safe. I don't know if it's that ancient brain that's like I need to be like everybody else to stay safe, or if it's just life experience.
So tell me about that life experience. That feels like in the past you've done stuff and it wasn't safe. Is that
Sure. And yeah, I've in the past I've either spoken my true thoughts or true feelings or shown my what I thought as my true self, and it was not well received
okay? So now it feels like it's safer not to say anything.
for a long time, right?
Okay.
And I think I'm coming out of that
Yep.
with this work, but clearly there's some stuff still.
Yeah. No, and I've been there, so I can actually understand. I've been there where it's like it's just not worth telling anyone. It's like
Yeah,
I've made a judgment that this none of them here is going to listen to it, so why even say anything?
right.
Okay, so I can get it. Anyone else want to comment on that one, on that statement? It is safe for me to share my vision. I mean, I know within each one of you, you've got this major vision that's there, and why aren't you standing on the roof screaming it? Susan?
I just want to open that up a little bit because I think we assume that means I'm going to speak with words, but we can share our vision in other ways just by holding a space, literally in our energy. And this is what I find I'm doing because I find myself like you, Alyssa, in situations where people around me, their their ears are probably just, and yes, this is an assumption I'm making, but nevertheless, there may be some truth to it in that moment, right? So rather than trying to speak when it's really not the space for it, we can share our vision just by sitting in it,
Yeah.
in in our own energy. I don't know if that makes sense or
That's
not.
beautiful. Thank you. I really love that. I mean, I often talk about being an example rather than what we say. So we can be the person, then they'll go, what's different? And sometimes people can react to that as well, by the way. Sometimes people react, how can you be so peaceful? I don't, and they're trying to make me unpeaceful because they're feeling uncomfortable. But you're right, if we can just hold that energy, sometimes that's louder than anything else we're going to say. And quite often I'll wait to be asked, like people say, what's different about you? And I say, do you really want to know? And then I'll tell them once they give me permission, well, then I've got permission to tell them. But thanks, Susan. Anyone else like to share on this one? It's a big one. Steph and then Jenna.
For me, it's being prepared. Oh, well, I'm not ready. Oh, I'm not ready. Or it's not set up. Or I don't, why would I start talking about it? Because I have no idea what the hell I'm doing.
Okay. Talking to some film producers a while ago, and they said what they do is like they've done some major films in LA, and what they do is they share their vision with everyone, hoping that someone will come on board and make it a reality. So the other side of that is if we don't share it, then it just stays an idea, and I know for me, people said with the conversations game that, literally I basically went to the bank and got a mortgage on the house to create the conversations game. And people said, is that worth it? Like it didn't take off straight away and what's happening. And I said, the worst case scenario would have been it was in a draw. And I had this idea about making a conversations game once. Because if I didn't produce the conversations game, I literally wouldn't have been invited to come to America the year after I produced it to share it once it was done at Humanities Team. And then initially to New Zealand, got to meet Heather. All that wouldn't have happened. I would have been teaching year 9 geography or something, going, gee, I wonder what would have happened if I actually was brave enough to do this game. And so I'm going to encourage people to find there's a fine line between safety. Yes, I want you to feel safe, and having the courage to get out there as well. And we've got to find that balance. There's a dance in all of this as well, isn't there? Jenna?
Yeah, I think too, for me, when because I feel what Alyssa is saying, I feel like there's a piece of having to let go of the judgment I have around what people may, how people may respond. So there's a piece of that too.
Okay. So it's not safe because they may come back to you and say, oh, it's a cult or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. And my mind is already formulating a judgment before I even attempt, right? So,
Okay, so is it your judgment on them or what you
yes,
perceive as their judgment on you?
it's my judgment on them, wondering what their judgment on me is going to be.
Right. Right. So try to predetermine all of that even before you say anything.
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? Like just the
Yes.
awareness of that. That's all it is at this stage, is the awareness, And the interesting thing is we raise our vibration, certainly once we're over 1,000. What I find is people either get it straight away or they're not interested and they just go away anyway. Like I've never had anyone argue the point. Like I created this thing about vibration and frequency and the difference between the two, one being internal, one being external. And there are some people out there that say, oh, that's not the correct scientific definition. And I go, oh, that's just Barry's definition. Like that's the end of it. Like you could have a different definition, but this is my definition of what I see as the distinction. This is what's helped me in my life and helped everyone else. So I've never had people want to argue past that. They've gone, well, okay, we'll just agree to disagree, or they jump on board. And I've seen videos now coming up on YouTube where people are using my definition of vibration frequency that they've got from someone else as if they've come up with this new idea. And I think it's great. I think it still gets it out there. And then it starts to become universal. First thing is we've got to be able to voice it to start with. And really, if someone doesn't like it, I'm like, that's okay. I actually prefer people not to like it than go, oh, whatever, I don't care either way. I like have an opinion. I'd rather someone have an opinion that they didn't like it than be just sitting on the fence going, I don't even know what I want. Lisa.
I'm trying. Oh, there we are. Trying to unmute myself. I at the beginning of the conversation, what I'm about to say fitted in better than later in the conversation. But For me, I feel that why I don't feel terribly safe about sharing my vision is because I've done it in past lives many times
Okay.
and paid the price of it.
Yep.
And that is sitting in me, which makes me feel insecure about saying who I am and what I want to do. And it even makes me feel like, am I saying the wrong thing talking about past lives in this instance?
Yep.
So that's just something I wanted to mention.
No, look, that's a great point. It has come up. It's come up sometimes when I've done one-on-ones. And what I always say is, this is the safest time for us to voice it, if you think about it. Like in past lives, if we voice it, we're probably going to be hanged, burned, stoned, like all those things could and probably did happen to us. In this time, what's going to happen is someone's going to go, I disagree with you. If we put it in perspective, it's nowhere near what could have happened in the past. And so, again, part of it is letting go of our old story. That somehow we're going to get hanged by a tree if we voice ourselves. And that just isn't a reality in today's world. So it's never been more safe to be able to voice this stuff.
Sometimes our bodies aren't quite as logical as our minds, though.
Sometimes, and that's why we're going to clear it. We're going to clear this in a moment. Well, after Claudia, and then we're going to clear it. So thank you.
I love it because I was definitely feeling you and I was definitely feeling Nancy, because what came up for me was exactly that. It was sometimes it's past lives. It's kind of that genetic kind of coding and belief system that we were hanged or burned at the stake for voicing our beliefs. But
Yep.
beyond that also is that feeling of, I was sharing this with my group. I said, I'm finally getting out there and being brave enough to tell everybody I'm coming out of the closet full-blown witchy poo. And it's really fun for me to start saying that I never was able to, because I couldn't find a way to reconcile all my spiritual background with my corporate executive business persona.
Yep.
And now more than ever, what I'm realizing and what I'm inviting everybody is, at some point, I don't know what point in age that happens, but at some point you get to say, I love myself enough to not give a shit about what anybody else thinks.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's something so liberating about that. And yes, of course, we care. And the closer somebody is to us, the more we care what they think. But on some level, we get to also own our voice and say, what you see is what you get. Take it or leave it. Like it, great. You don't, you're allowed to move on. So that we can stand in our truth and really empower each other with it.
So let's clear this energetically, because we know, as we said, there's past lives, there's enough on this lifetime with people sort of trying to belittle us and doing stuff like that. Let's clear this statement for all of us. And it is past life. It's sixth chakra. It's going out in the sixth level of the life body. So this is a really big one we're clearing. And what this is going to do is give us a fresh start. All right. So, Alyssa, you're the one that started all this. We're going to come back to you. And can you say, it is safe for me to share my vision?
It is safe for me to share my vision.
Okay. How's that feel?
Very good.
Yeah.
Very smooth. Yeah, thank you.
This whole, you're actually nodding yes as you're saying it this time. You've got to remember, 10 minutes ago, you're like, no, it's not.
Yep, no way.
You're not going to get me.
Right.
Change
I
this.
love that change.
And I can see, sometimes I give people a statement, they're like, I don't care what you're going to do, there's no way I'm going to change my thought about this. And you're pretty accurate. So well done. That's a great statement for all of us.